Welcome back to another week of Instigating with Clarkey and Ryan, brought to you by our friends at Conway Furniture, Highway 86, east end of Listowel, our friends at Larry Hudson, Chevrolet Buick GMC, and of course, the Listowel Squash Courts. More on that later, and more on these gorgeous hats that Clarkey and I are sporting later. We got big news in the baseball world locally here, but this is a baseball episode. It's a baseball special, but there's really nothing special about the way that this team that we're going to talk about is playing. And when we talk about the Blue Jays and really baseball in general, guys, you know who we like to bring on. Very pleased to have our friend Rob Longley of the Toronto Sun on, who covers the Blue Jays. Mr. Longley, how are you doing?
Good, guys. It's been quite a grind on the baseball beat since we last spoke. I think last time we spoke, we were talking about a team that might win 95 games. One of us might have mentioned that. Now it seems like a pipe dream, doesn't it?
I didn't. Who mentioned that?
I think I might have said if everything goes right for them.
Right.
Oh, I see.
But a lot is not going right. And I mean, really off the top, it was everything. The pitching, which was excellent last year, was bad. It's rebounded. And we'll talk a little bit about that. I mean, but the hitting, I mean, we thought last year was bad, Rob. I mean, the hitting this year is borderline anemic. And we're recording this on an off day for the Jays on Thursday, May 30th. They're coming off a 3-game sweep of the White Sox.
Yeah.
Something that's really not worth celebrating, in my opinion. And it's mostly because of what their record says. They're 26-29 as we record this. They're dead last in the AL East. What is going on with this team? Why can this team still not hit a baseball?
Well, that's the what, a $236 million question, which is what the payroll is for the team this year, I guess. And all kidding aside, when we spoke prior to the season and discussed this team's prospects, we recognized that it was possible that they could have a winning record and improve upon last year. But I mean, really, it was going to take everything to go right. And even then, we were talking about the failings of the front office in the offseason, and now that's really coming to roost, right? Because General Manager Ross Atkins essentially said, we're running this thing back. We're going to count on internal improvement from our hitters, which was always going to be a big ask, especially given that some of them are getting older and some of them have proven that they can't be consistent at the major league level. He said, we're going to trust that the pitching staff is going to come back to perform just like it did last season, and that we're going to improve that way. Internally improve for a team that only won 89 games last year and failed miserably in the postseason was not a strategy to approach in the offseason, especially when you reside in the American League East, and especially when there was a lot of incentive and a lot of need for this team, quite frankly, to get better and be more competitive right away because of an antsy fan base and because of a newly renovated stadium with elevated ticket prices that they're going to need to fill by midsummer.
So, as Ryan said, they're not doing well at all. Tell me what this management team has done so far to make them better early in the season.
They've done absolutely nothing. That's
exactly.
the problem, right?
Exactly.
Now, and this isn't in fairness to them because they created their own mess. I'm not really sure what they could have done to change things.
I don't know either.
I mean, they finally dropped George Springer from the leadoff spot, but they stuck with that for 3 weeks longer than they should have. Sitting 7th now, obviously, and contributing a little bit down there. I mean, you could bring up Aurelvis Martinez, I suppose, from Buffalo, but the guy hits home runs in AAA, and he might be able to translate that into some power in the big leagues, kind of like what Davis Schneider did last year. But from all accounts, he's like a horrid defender. So where do you put him in like, how do you get him in the lineup? Do you get him in as your DH? This is not the time of year to trade. There are no trades available. Mm-hmm. Do you fire one of your 27 hitting coaches? Well, I don't know if that's the answer. Do you fire the offensive coordinator? Is it Donnie Baseball's fault? At some point, the players had, it's on their, it's on the onus of these guys to improve. Clark, I don't know if you and I have ever shared this story, but I remember Brian Burke once grumbling that the problem with the media market in Toronto, I didn't 100% agree with him, but he did have a point, was that the media tends to get on the general manager and the manager and let the players walk. And there is some truth to that. I mean, these guys got to be able to hit better than they have. Like, what is George Springer doing? Is he 45 years old or is he 35 years old? You know, it's
like, have they forgotten how to hit, or is it their approach at the plate? Like, what is it? Like, are they tinkering with their swings just too much? I don't know.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, right? Are they overthinking it? Baseball, like any sport, can be a game of momentum, and the Jays certainly have not had any of that go their way this year, unless you want to count winning 3 in the south side of Chicago against the worst team in baseball, as you alluded to, Clarkey. Unless you want to call that momentum, you really can't. 3 games below 500 right now. They basically, to get to 89 wins, which is what they had last year, I think they have to play 21 games over 500 the rest of the way. That's a pretty tall ask. Can they do it? I suppose, but they've got to show a heck of a lot more than what they've shown so far.
Before we get more into the Jays, I just have a question for you personally. What do you enjoy more, when the team's performing like this or when they're good?
I mean, you certainly don't want the 500 team.
Yeah.
Because I remember once earlier in my career, like many years ago, I was asked if I'd be interested in kind of like being the third guy in the Jays beat at the Sun. And we're talking like in the 90s, right? When they were like losing records every year. And my answer was kind of like, that wouldn't be at the top of my list right now, because I often wondered, what the heck would you write about on July 14th when the game is 27 and a half games out of first place?
Yeah.
Like, how would you possibly approach that? But to your point, Clarkey, I think in some ways, and probably the fan base doesn't love this, but in some ways it's easier to write when a team is dog crap, because if the fan base can't get enough of it at that point, they're angry. There's, the reaction is negative, and there's frankly a lot more to write about. The other extreme is also good too, because there's a lot of enthusiasm around the team and interest is high, and a team on a hot streak is kind of easier to work around, because the players are they don't go into their hiding places in the clubhouse or the dressing room as much as they would on a losing streak. And
is that happening now?
Not really. I mean, not to get too much inside baseball, but I'll go inside baseball. The Jays, the access to the Jays is starting to diminish. Baseball was always the one sport where access was far superior than the others. It's less superior now. The part of it had to do with the renovations in the new clubhouse, and there's sort of ways to keep the media away from the players that make it a little less easy to do your job. But the players tend to be pretty good. There's a couple on the team, like on any team, that are maybe a little reluctant to talk, but most are pretty good. If you need to talk to somebody in baseball, you can still do it. So
do you have to go through PR, or do you and again, this is sort of inside media talk here, but like when I was there in the 90s, like I could go up to any guy anytime before a game and pretty much talk to them.
Yeah, that's still pretty much the way.
Okay.
There are more limitations now than there were 20 years ago, but you can get somebody. I mean, you might not get everybody you want on a given day, but you can talk to baseball players. There's plenty of time and plenty of opportunity.
Okay. I like that until I talked to Dave Steve, and then I hated it. So.
Yeah. Well, There's still some of those guys too, right?
I'm sure there is.
Chris Bassett, after a loss, is the master of the 1 to 3 word answer. And, I actually don't hold that against him. It's a guy who wears his heart on his sleeve and is driven to perform. And frankly, he's pissed when he loses or has a poor outing. So that's okay. I'm cool with that.
Yeah. I'd rather have that than Mitch Marner.
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine with that too. I mean, Seabass a dog. We're chatting with Rob Longley of the Toronto Sun, and obviously, you speak about limitations, and a guy who we've wondered for a number of years now, since he put up 48 jacks and was an MVP favorite, is Vladdy Jr. And we all wondered what exactly are this guy's limitations, and he had a just horrendous start to the season. Yeah. And over the last couple weeks, he's driven his average back up around 285, almost touching 290. Over the last 15 games, he's got a better than 320 average. I mean, he's hitting for a lot of contact. The power's not there, but he's driving in runs and he's hitting the baseball. When we look at him, we always kind of wonder, when is that power coming back? And I off your comment, Clarkey, about adjusting their swings too much, I think that kind of might be part of the larger problem here, because when you look at their offensive statistics, they rank in the bottom third in basically every major offensive category: runners in scoring position, again, batting average, BABIP, everything, OBP. And I watched an interesting video on YouTube by 3-0 Greenlight Special, and it was about Vladdy and how much he's changed his swing. And it's great to see like him hitting for average and everything, but it was really interesting in how he's approaching hitting and his launch angle. Do you think that with him and to a larger degree the rest of the roster, Rob, that there's just too many people on that bench? Like, I tuned in a couple weeks ago, and we all know Guillermo Martinez is still there as the head hitting coach. They got Donnie Baseball as the offensive coordinator, whatever that was supposed to mean or they think means. And then I look down there and Edwin Encarnacion's down there, and he's like having a long conversation with Vlad after a 3-pitch strikeout, whispering in his ear. Like, it feels like there's way too many people in that dugout.
Yeah, you just listed only half of them. Victor Martinez is around there a lot of the times. Assistant hitting coach Hunter Mentz is around every night. Another assistant hitting coach Matt Haig is around every night.
Oh, see,
assistant hitting coach Rob, tell me, is that, and pardon my naivety here, if it is, like, is that common practice around baseball to have that many hitting coaches?
No, I think it's like everything with this front office. It's overdone. The baseball operations department is just so thick with bodies that it's impossible to dissect the message. I also saw Dante Bichette around a few weeks back as well. I mean, a lot of the players kind of relied on him as a voice back a few years ago. So, maybe it is too much. You ask what the limitations are on Vladdy. Obviously, he's hitting the ball hard again. He's hitting the ball for average, and he seems to be hitting with confidence. But the literal limitation would seem to be that he can't hit the ball higher than 20 feet in the air. That's why he's not hitting home runs. He's still hitting them. He's still hitting the ball hard, and now he's not swinging and missing as much as he did early in the season. But whether it's launch angle or whether he's changed something more subtle about his approach, he's just not hitting home runs. And as we saw over this past week when the offense actually got humming for a couple of nights, home runs are fun, and home runs can help you win ball games in a hurry. They can give you a lead in a ball game. They can give you a big lead in a ball game. They can put you back in a ball game in a hurry, and they're an integral part of baseball. And for this team to somehow abandon the whole concept of power and smash is really befuddling, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it really is. And
yeah.
And I want to ask you as well, you brought him up already, George Springer, and this guy is, the injuries are one thing, and you can't really fault a guy for getting injured. I mean, he's had some really unfortunate and weird injuries. We all remember the collision with Bo Bichette a couple years ago, like stuff like that. But when you look at his overall impact on the team, like the first couple years, pretty good. And I don't mean to compare this to, a Maple Leafs contract, but I've heard people kind of starting to compare this to the situation that the Leafs are in with John Tavares, a guy who still can offer you some production, but the price point for what he's giving you now in the late stages of the contract is a real problem. And this team, they've got a top 10 payroll. They're horrific offensively, and he is right at the heart of that. Like, this guy is a World Series champion, a World Series MVP, a perennial all-star when he was with Houston, a great outfielder like he is, and he still gives full effort out there, diving for balls, making great plays in the outfield when he plays. But at the plate, like, he looks completely lost out there. And for 25 sheets a year, like, that's a massive problem for this team with 2 more years left.
It's a huge problem. I mean, you expect when you sign a guy of that age into his 30s to a 6-year deal that you're going to get diminished production towards the back end of it. The last year for sure, maybe the last 2 years. But you would never expect for it to be for more than half of the contract, which is what it's turning out to be, because all of last year, essentially, which, by the way, he was healthy for the most part, or wasn't on the injured list as often as he had been earlier in his career. Plus what's happening this year. I mean, they had no choice but to drop him down to 7th in the batting order. And you watch his at-bats, and they're hard in the eyes, man. Like, it's like, I mean, I don't know enough about the mechanics of hitting, but the eye test tells you that the bat speed is dreadfully slow. And pitchers around baseball are well aware of that, and they're just blowing fastballs past the guy. I mean, he's picked it up a little bit over the last week or so, but again, that was 6 games against the White Sox and 4 games against the Tigers. So some of the pitchers on both of those teams are slump busters just by virtue of where they are in the game. We're going to have a better indication when the Orioles come to town next week to see if he's going to pick it up at all. But back to your point, Ryan, it is problematic that you've essentially got a guy that it's the richest contract in the history of the franchise. Still got 2 more years remaining on it, I believe, and you don't know what you can do with the guy. He's playing okay defense out in right field, but you're now burying him in the order. You got him 1 slot above Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and 2 spots above Kevin Kiermaier. That's not a murderer's row, boys at 7, 8, and 9. That's and it's not you're paying over $150 million for. It's a problem.
I hate to ask this question, but it's always the easy out for teams. How hot is the seat John Schneider's sitting on right now? Do you see him lasting much longer?
I have a tough time gauging that. My sense would be that the seat isn't all that hot, with a couple of caveats. One would be, do you really give Ross Atkins the opportunity to hire a 4th manager? Now, people can say he inherited John Gibbons, which he did, but he also extended John Gibbons. He extended John Gibbons for 2 years before he fired him halfway through that. He hired Charlie Montoyo, lovely man, but terrible manager, as it turned out. And Charlie would probably admit that he wasn't suited to the role in hindsight. And then you hire the homegrown guy in John Schneider. Do you really get a crack at a 4th manager? I can't think of too many professional sports organizations that would allow that. So then the question becomes, is Ross Atkins on the hot seat? But who fires him? It's Mark Shapiro. And, how close are they?
They both should be on the hot seat.
One would think, but I mean, you worked for the Rogers Corporation. This is another question that blows my mind too. How much does Ed Rogers know about what's going on, right? $236 million US payroll, the most the team's ever paid. Just completed a $300 million renovation on the Rogers Center, which, oh, by the way, went over budget by $100 million. So it's almost $400 million. And by the way, it's not completed yet. So he spent close to $1 billion over the last 2 years. And for what? A last place team, a team that's shot of winning the American League East this year, has lost 4 consecutive playoff games, might be able to get into a wild card race. But if they don't get into a wild card race, and if there's any kind of a sell-off in late July, who's going to go to that place in September if you have
exactly
tickets, right?
I looked the other day at tickets. I thought maybe I'll go to a game, sit and see what the new stadium looks like. Every seat it looked like in the 100 level was at least $80-$85.
Yeah.
Every seat.
Yeah, that doesn't work in baseball, right?
No.
Not when you're like this. Not when you're like this.
Right.
And you brought up an interesting kind of caveat there to jump off of, Rob, and that is if they start selling in the summer. And look, as we're chatting here, they're 3 games under 500. As you said, we have seen the flashes of talent on this team over the last number of years. We do know that there are some good ball players and some good baseball to be played here. I mean, look at Alek Manoah recently before the elbow incident the other day. We hope he's okay. He actually shows back up and pitched really well his last few outings, like really positive. Everybody would love to see that. But they've put themselves in a position with the way they've played really the last 2 years. You could even argue 2.5, where people logically have to start asking, especially with contract statuses, what can we realistically expect the heart of this team to look like? And I find it kind of oddly amusing. It's almost morbidly funny that their team, quote this year, their little hashtag on Twitter is to the core. Yeah. Well, the core of this team is not getting it done. And that's what you really need. You need 3 or 4 guys to really be leading a team in a positive direction. And despite Vladdy, we discussed his improved numbers the last couple of weeks, it's just not there. And I have to wonder now, as these guys start approaching years away from free agency, if the Jays get themselves in a position where they have to trade the core of this team away. And I'm talking about guys like Danny Jansen, maybe Kirk, Vladdy, Bo, guys like that. Like what kind of returns and rebuild process can we expect here? Like, I don't think fans in Toronto are going to show patience for that kind of thing at all, Rob.
This is a thing that I'm on about, exactly this, Ryan. It's so you go back to, are we going to transport back to early 2000s baseball in Toronto when the fans were indifferent? Because I mean, it really was remarkable what Alex Anthopoulos was able to do in creating those 25 and 2015, 2016 teams, not just for what they did on the field and the the mild success they had in the postseason, but what they did for baseball in this city and baseball in this country, and created a massive fan base. Suddenly watching the Blue Jays baseball on television was the thing to do. Suddenly going down to the Rogers Center was the thing to do again. And really, that fan base has remained mostly loyal since 2015, almost a decade now. I mean, you went into the 2017 season hoping that you could run it back, and then that wasn't going to work out. So 2018 became the official teardown season. The fans were willing to buy into 2019 being a season of growth, building around those two key bodies on the core, as you mentioned, Ryan. And then 20 and 21 were write-offs because of COVID. So the fan base didn't go anywhere. They remained loyal, and they're still loyal. They're still buying tickets. They're still putting 35 to 40,000 in that place every night. But what they are doing is they're becoming bitter and they're becoming antsy, and they're not. My sense, anyway, is that they're not willing to put up with this for much longer. And especially, my sense would be that are they going to be willing to support a team that's going through a massive turnover and a massive rebuild without prospects of really being a decent team for another 3 or 4 seasons? My sense is there'd be a heavy dose of indifference if it comes to that, and we're almost on the brink of it, really.
And I guess I would say in conclusion here, and Rob, we thank you. It's your day off, and you've been so gracious with your time. You're a beauty. We love you on the show here. I would say on the back of that, to conclude, talking about Ross Atkins, if that's the direction the team decides to go, like, this guy cannot be in charge of that rebuild. Like, you look at their draft record in Cleveland, it was terrible. And the guys they did find were really when Shapiro was still basically at the helm of it and training Ross Atkins, the guys that they did find, including getting Jose Ramirez, which was a big steal. But like, look at their draft record here. They don't have a lot of high-end prospects. They built that brand new multi-million dollar player development complex down there. They're not developing any high-end players, and the Orioles are cranking them out. Now, they were terrible for a while, but this guy can't be in charge of a full-scale rebuild. And I've said this to you before, and I'll say it again here. Ed Rogers, to your point, is already spending tons of money on this outfit. Why not, if you're going to do that, if he comes into the boardroom and says, look, this is unacceptable, we got to hit the reset button here. I know it's unlikely, but I seriously think that he should write a blank check and mail it first class to Theo Epstein's doorstep.
Oh, I thought you were going to say to Georgia.
Oh, well, I mean, that ship sailed. Alex isn't going to come back here now. He's got a sweetheart setup over in Atlanta with stars signed to great deals. He signed Matt Olson to $125 million. Come on here. No, I think, and I've said this to you before, I know it's unlikely, but it's a pipe dream at this point. I'd be doing anything. I'd call him 70 times. Leave him a bunch of voicemails. Theo, please come to Toronto.
Yeah, you can't give him the keys to hire a fourth manager, and you can't give him the keys to go through what essentially would be a third rebuild, a second rebuild anyway, especially with, I mean, you mentioned the Orioles, and this is another thing that drives Blue Jays fans crazy. Everything that they're saying about the Baltimore Orioles over the last 12 months is what they were saying about the Blue Jays 4 years ago. Bright young core, stacked system. It's going to be a steady pipeline of young talent coming up, and now that pipeline, if it was ever there, and there was some strength in it, it has been depleted by late season trades to try to load up for the postseason, and now the core is, there's such huge question marks around the core, both in the way in the performance of Vlad and Bo at times, and whether they'll be around beyond next season. It's a borderline disaster in a lot of ways. Baseball is a funny game. There's still more than 100 games left. And things can change in a hurry. But there's something around the team that doesn't feel right, and you can sense it. You can sense it talking to the players. You can sense it being at the ballpark, and you certainly can sense it every night you try to watch a baseball game.
To relate it to hockey, look at the Edmonton Oilers. They were awful. Yep. They made a change. There you go. Things can happen, but you got to do something. Anyway, hey, do you think the Leafs are going to move Marner?
I don't know. That's a good question. Do you think Marner would let them? Do you think he would sign off on it? Maybe. I mean, he's the one guy. He's the one guy on that team who seems bitter about having to talk to the media every day, and he's the one guy who seems to be bothered by the fans and bothered by superstardom, and perhaps doesn't realize how great a gig that he has, right? Maybe a change of scenery would be good for him. Maybe not, but maybe it might be good for the Maple Leafs if they could get him to agree to it and get anything in return.
Love talking Toronto sports. It always comes back to the same thing. They're losers.
Absolutely. Well, and on that note, we'll see if better days come to roost in Blue Jays land. And if they do, you know that we'll be talking to our friend Rob Longley of the Toronto Sun. You can follow him at Longley Sun Sport on Twitter. Thanks so much for doing this, my friend.
Hey, my pleasure, guys. We'll do it again soon.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a quick break. And when we come back, Clarkey and I will address the new hat situation. Big news in local baseball here in Listowel. We're going to touch on that next here on Instigating. Welcome back to Instigating with Clarkey and Drury, brought to you by our friends at Conway Furniture, our friends at Larry Hudson Chevrolet Buick GMC, and of course, the Listowel Squash Courts. Now, listen, we've talked a lot about the Listowel Squash Courts on this show, and rightly so. They sponsor the show. We're buddies with Al over there, our friend Alan McArthur. And the aforementioned Mr. McArthur joins us now, but we need to, and producer Adam's done this, we needed to edit his lower third, because not only is he the proud owner of the Listowel Squash Courts, where I play him every morning on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and Clarkey tries to play, right? He's now the proud owner of the Listowel Legionnaires, ladies and gentlemen. Al, proud owner of a baseball club. You're Billy Bean. You're Billy Bean. Tell us how this happened.
It was really just, it all kind of just worked out. It was weird. Kriskers owned the teams, prior to yesterday, I guess. But he was just, we're good friends too. And we talk and we had a couple meetups, and, he kind of bounced, the idea of maybe changing over the ownership, and I was really kind of, my ears perked up, and it was the 12-year-old boy came out in me, right? Like, yes, let's buy a ball team, right? So over the last few months, it did take a little bit just to go back and forth and figure out if the timing was right for both of us, because we didn't want to do this to benefit anybody but the club. That's the sole key. That's exactly what we want to do. That's what we want to keep with. Try and benefit the club and the things that the club benefits in the community. So yeah, we ended up texting out a deal kind of, and meeting up this week and finalizing it, and yeah, I guess I'm the new owner.
Yeah,
well, there you
absolutely.
go. And I just want to say right now, I don't know what hat to wear, because not only are you the new owner of the Legionnaires, but you are my Conway Furniture Couch Potato of the Week. So congratulations. So like a double, this is good. Like, this is going to like really expand your head. Like, I don't know if you'll be able to get out of your closet there, but no, congrats. It's good. And hopefully there'll be some synergies with the show, with the Legionnaires as well. We're working on some stuff there too.
Yes.
So you're also the general manager. How's the team doing? And are you going to be a better general manager than Ross Atkins?
I hope
I hope so.
The only person I really honestly throughout just anything I kind of take on and do, I just try and be better than myself the day before, the week before, the season before. So I'm going to come out of the gates running. I'm really going to try and my main focus is team morale. I'm not sure what it's like. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying that I want to get in there and I want to be one of the boys for a bit. I want to check out what they're doing, how they're doing it, try and really make baseball fun again for them if it's not, and give them some benefits of the community. I've already reached out to a few small businesses around Listowel, and they're more than willing to better these guys to better their I guess overall experience with the club, which is great because we give back to the Legion, Listowel Minor Ball. We try and really kind of web out and grow the community within.
You need to make a hat then. MBFA. Make baseball fun again.
Yeah, right. Baseball's already fun, and the Legionnaires are a fun club. 0-3 start so far this year, but it's early days. It's early days. And I want to address something quickly before we continue talking about, obviously Kersey and your relationship. And of course, Kersey, when he bought the club, he said similar things, did a lot of great things with it, including the first ever Midwestern Ontario Senior Baseball League title in 2019. I was there covering it. That was a very fun night. And I hope there's many titles in the future. But and look, we're still going to do a regular segment at the end of the show, but since we're already throwing out couch potatoes, and Clarkey's decided, I'm going to throw out a couch potato, of course, our couch potato segment. We're going to do 2 this week. Why not? We should, for our friends at Conway Furniture, Highway 86, east end of Listowel. We'll double dip. I'm going to double dip, and let me tell you why. My couch potato this week, my first one anyway. Yeah. I have another one prepped.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to do this because he made me promise I'd never do this again, but I have to do it. It's Christopher Clark. And it is
Come on, dude. Like, that's such a cop-out.
It is because... No, it's not a cop-out. There is a situation that has happened that needs to be rectified. And
with what?
Look, we're all friends here, and when your friend does something suspect, you got to call them out. That's what a good friend does, right? And Al was gracious enough.
Is this Al again?
No. Al was gracious enough. He supplied us with these beautiful, brand new, out-of-the-box Legionnaires caps. They're gorgeous. Look at these. And I went to the media conference. I'm a news guy. I went to the media availability that him and Kersey had at John Bell Diamond. And we hope to see lots of fans out there supporting the Legionnaires this year. Yeah. So I was live in person to receive my hat. Now, I was told that Christopher Clark said that he was going to come and pick up his hat at the squash courts, which is what a responsible person would do. Then, we got too busy. I'm at work now.
You have no idea what I had to do. You have no idea what I had to do.
I have some idea. And but here's the problem. I know you're a busy guy. You got a lot going on right now.
I am a busy guy.
And we'll be addressing that in weeks to come. But right now, what you did afterwards is unacceptable to me. You requested that Al, who supplied
can you just stop by?
I
could have gone to the
drive it over to you at the dealership. And that's
okay. And first of all, I wanted Al to come over because I wanted to try to sell him a truck. If you let's be honest.
Well, you know what, dude.
I could have picked it up Tuesday night at the squash courts. I didn't get invited to the press conference. I had no idea about it. He forgot to invite me. So
not a media guy.
Can't blame me. What do you mean? What do you call this show? I'm on Whiteman TV right now.
Not a media guy. And what I'd say as well is what you did, right, was lazy. And that's what the couch potato can be about, right? It's either a great performance.
Well, there's no doubt about that, but I wasn't lazy in this situation. I had to go into work early, to be honest.
What you did, right,
So I was
you
working.
did the Jeff O'Neill. You did the O-Dog. You went, hey, Duffy, you're at the Masters. Can you get me a hat while you're down there? That's what you did, dude. And that's why you are my initial Conway Furniture Couch Potato of the Week. Now let's switch back to these gorgeous Legionnaires cap that our friend Al so graciously supplied to us. And Al, I want to start with obviously your love of baseball, because you don't get into an endeavor like this if you don't love the game. Where did that start for you? I know you organize a lot of the men's slow pitch stuff locally as well, and the Legionnaires have a long-standing relationship with minor ball here. When did that love of baseball start for you?
It was actually the what do they call it? The Tri-County 1993 baseball championship I was in Gorey. We actually played the game in Fordwich. But it's just so cool. It was just a bunch of my buddies, small town, so we all knew each other. We all hung out, and we made it to the championship and won. And that's just kind of where it comes from. Like, you have different Ryan, you probably dream of being a professional, like a NHL broadcaster, right? Like that's you. Like, for me, it wasn't. I knew I wasn't going to play the game, so it was like, yeah, maybe it'd be cool to own my own team or run my own team someday. Ran my own team in co-ed plus the league for 10 plus years, and just had too much going on at the time with the squash courts and everything else. Kind of got out of that league, jumped back in this year with men's league on a different team. So it's really nice to it's super nice to jump on the field again and just run out those balls, and it's going to be cool. I'm definitely going to take up some of those pitchers for the Legionnaires, the seniors and the juniors. And I'm going to ask them to throw me a few pitches just to see if I can actually make contact with anything. It's a different type of ball that really interests me too, because I've never played that type of ball, but it's the ball that we've all watched, right? So it's going to be really cool. I'm going to enjoy being out there.
Are you going to be the ball boy too, or no?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, he's the owner.
Are you?
I know, but
are you applying, Clarkey, or
no? I'm not.
Well, we've already established he's too lazy. He'll call somebody else to come and bring the balls to him.
Okay, you know what?
Jenna,
someone has to work.
Ball diamond?
When someone has to work, it's not exactly called lazy. Okay.
No, but you made him bring it.
I didn't have. Let me check the text. I want to see what.
No, I know.
No,
it's over.
No.
It's over. We're moving on.
Oh, yeah, no, because I'm going to call you out on it.
Obviously, being part of
Are you able to bring
like
one over to the dealership? Yep.
That's the foul right there.
Anytime.
That's the foul.
Anytime.
What are you trying to walk away from? The fact that you said, hey, you bring my free hat that you're supplying as a gift to me. That's the foul. How are you not seeing this? It doesn't matter. Okay. We're going to continue.
How's your squash game going, by the way, you two?
Good.
I'm bad.
You're bad. Yeah, well, we knew that.
Actually, the other week, on a side note with squash, we tried out the different squash balls that I got, the squash 57 balls.
We did try that out.
Yeah, they're actually 57 millimeters, so quite a bit larger than the 37 millimeter ball. And we used racquetball rackets, and it was
an adjustment.
It was an adjustment, but it was really
fun.
Cool. Yeah.
Very different game. It's amazing how much,
Is it bouncier, the ball?
Oh,
is it like a racquetball? Because racquetball is really bouncy.
It's almost in between. So I do have a racquetball 2 to compare. Racquetball 2, it's almost like a bouncy ball. Where this ball, it's really hard to do drop shots and stuff like that because it plays off the wall.
Spongy.
Yeah.
I saw one over at the court that day.
Yeah.
The last time I was there, I saw one there. I didn't hit it around, but I saw it.
It was interesting.
Just bounce it around a bit. Yeah.
Different variation.
In my youth program, the kids love that ball. They're in love with it.
Yeah, it's definitely easier to get a hold of, and you can experience all that, by the way, at the Listowel Squash Courts. And
Yes.
maybe you can even play Al and do better than I do, because I'll be honest, as a quick side note, we're here to talk about baseball, Clarky.
It's
But
okay.
he's
got both hats.
No, I know.
on.
As a quick side note, I mean, I'm in a dark place. I'm not happy with my game. Al seems to disagree. We did play like a double OT game today that I did lose.
Okay, but did Al have shorts on or track pants on?
Al had shorts, and
It's
Al's playing it.
Hold on. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say it's 17 degrees.
Oh, that's why. Yeah. Okay. So that has nothing to do with the energy level you're opening. I get it. Now, I think half Ryan's problem is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, but yeah, was it Tuesday night at 5 to 7? I drove down Main Street in Listowel, and I think I saw you on the tennis court. That's a hard transition going from tennis to squash. I think you got to like concentrate a little bit more on squash.
Well, I play way more squash than I play tennis, to be fair.
Was it you there? Was it you? Did I see
it?
You?
It wasn't me.
Oh, it wasn't you? Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, that 300-pound guy you saw wasn't me. And I just want to say that
I beeped and waved, and the guy gave me the finger, so I figured it was you.
It wasn't me. I would never do that because I'm a positive friend. But I'm a positive guy, and I wouldn't ask you to bring a hat to me. So anyway, I will say I'm in a dark place, but Al, ever encouraging, always ends up making me feel better about myself, and then I end up winning a game. So that's the positive experience that the Listowel Squash Courts brings. Okay.
Okay. Now, sounds good.
Now, Al, you don't get into an endeavor like this, buying a baseball team, without obviously some competitive juices and a desire to win. Kersey did it in 2019, and it was a really big deal for the ball club. And that was actually a very historic year for Listowel ball in general. A bunch of the junior teams went on runs. They continue to do so. What would it mean to you to potentially win a Midwestern Ontario Senior Baseball League title with the Legionnaires? What would that mean to you?
Oh, it would be insane. It would be unbelievable, but that's not really my goal. And I have yet to know if this is the right goal or the wrong goal. But the goal I'm kind of putting on myself this year for sure is making sure the team morale's up, making sure these guys are good in every aspect. I want them to be looked after. I want them to be having fun, and I want the feeling of Friday night baseball, or the dusk of the sky and hearing the ball crack. I just want things like that to spread to the community and bring everybody together through baseball itself, and hopefully through a winning team. I'm going to leave the winning up to the boys. I'm going to leave it up to the players. I'm going to leave it up to the coaches. I don't really feel like that's why I'm there. I'm really there to be there for them, not for them to be there for me. That's the way I want to really keep my mentality. I think it's overall going to benefit the club and myself with not as much pressure on either of us to make each other happy. I'm going to meet the seniors tonight, or not tonight, sorry, Saturday night. They play at 7:00 in town, and I'm really going to just kind of try and be one of the boys. I'm not. It's not me against them. It's not GM or shortstop. It's Alan and whoever I'm talking to. Right? Like, that's what it's going to be. I just want them to realize that I'm here for them. I've already got some to-do lists that some guys are thinking, you know what, these changes might be better. Could you look into them? And I'm taking it serious. I'm putting 110% in, like they do on the field. It's no different. I want to be just like them. I just don't have the arm for it.
Yeah, no, that's spoken like a good owner, man. I think that with that kind of mentality, you're going to have a lot of success. We wish you all the success in the world. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to come down Saturday because I live down the street, and I'm looking forward to coming down and experiencing lots of Legionnaires baseball. And who knows, maybe we'll drag Clarkey down too, although one of us will have to give him a ride probably.
It would, yeah. Pick them up, drop them off, maybe provide supper. We just never know with Clarkey.
That's right. Al, thanks for the hat, buddy.
Anytime.
Thanks for dropping it off.
Anytime, bud.
You wanted me to wear it on the show. Thanks for dropping it off.
Yeah,
Thanks.
no, I appreciate you guys. And
when you have the jersey ready for me, I'll come pick it up.
Yeah, and honestly, on this note, I do appreciate everything you guys do. You guys were my first contact to as soon as I purchased the team, it was you guys. Let's do something together. Let's work something out, because I love working with you guys. It's like listening to me and my wife have a conversation. The bickering, the just everything.
Perfect.
It's just
wow.
Awesome. Wow.
Right.
Who did you tell
I
first,
appreciate it.
Ryan or me?
You know what? I think I texted about 6 or 8 of the people that I like, of my friends that I kind of knew.
Okay.
To be honest, my sisters.
No, between Ryan and I.
Well, I know, but I got to throw my sisters out there too.
That's fine.
I think I texted. I can look back if you really want, but I'm not sure. I texted like 6 or 8 of you at the same time.
Okay, fine.
It was me because I was asked to come.
You
to
did
the
tell me like
so.
a month ago that it was in the works. So
yeah, me too.
Yes, and that's another side note. Like I didn't do that because you guys have this show and I sponsor it. I did that because you guys are buddies, right? Like we hang out.
For sure, absolutely.
I appreciate everything you guys do, for sure.
Yep, absolutely.
Absolutely.
No,
well, hey,
it's
man, we appreciate you too, and we're very, very excited for you. This is gonna be fun, and I'm gonna be permanently calling you Billy Bean from now on. How's that sound?
Double B.
Absolutely. How can you not be romantic about baseball? Alan McArthur of the Listowel Squash Courts and your Listowel Legionnaires. How about that, Al? Thanks for doing this, brother. Congratulations.
Thanks for having me, guys.
No worries.
All right, we'll take another quick break when we come back. Lots to discuss, including a very big retirement in the baseball world. Like I said, this is a baseball special. And we'll also touch on a little bit of the NHL playoffs. And hey, the first ever PWHL title was won by Minnesota. Huge for women's hockey. We'll chat about that as well next here on Instigating. Back to wrap things up here on another week of Instigating with Clarkey and Drury. Thanks to our friends Rob Longley of the Toronto Sun for joining us to chat about the Blue Jays and whatever the hell it is they're doing. Nothing. And obviously our friend Alan McArthur, the new owner of the Listowel Legionnaires. And you know what? We're brought to you by our friends, as always, at Conway Furniture and, of course, the Listowel Squash Courts. But Larry Hudson's has it. Deals are always hot. What's going on over there, Clarkey, at Larry Hudson Chevrolet Buick GMC? What is up? Whoa, look at
40th anniversary hats. 40th
Yes.
anniversary hats, Ryan.
And you can get one.
You want to come get one? I've asked you to come get one. I don't know if you want me to deliver you one, but I've asked for you to come over and get one, but you haven't come yet. That's okay. You're a busy guy. You're a busy guy. I get it. 40th anniversary sale going on right now. And we have our first Silverado EVs, electric trucks. We have them in stock. Come and see them. You can get over 700 kilometers per charge on these things.
That's insane.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Pretty good.
Elon Musk be damned. How about that?
700 kilometers. And
they're better
nice
looking
trucks.
than those goofy trucks, too. How about that?
Yes, for sure.
Styling and profiling.
So the Silverado EVs, we have Vets on the lot. We have Camaros on the lot. Lots of Yukon XLs, Tahoes, Suburbans. The lot's full. Come on in. The deals are hot.
Weather's hot. Deals are hot. Larry Hudson's. How about that? 40 years.
40 years.
Of being hot. I love that. Nice.
40 years.
I like that. You get the David Justice cap on. All right. I want to address something as well here. Okay. Before we get to my double dip, my real Conway Furniture Couch Potato, because Clarkey, you were just kind of my joke one. Obviously big history made, and we'll have a guest on soon to talk about obviously the very successful inaugural season of the PWHL. Minnesota getting in as the bottom seed, and they go all the way and beat Boston in the Walter Cup final after some controversy too. In game 4 in overtime, Minnesota scored and it was absolutely a goal. And Boston, it got waved off. The yard sale happened, everything. It was an overtime winner, they thought. They ended up reviewing it. It took like 12 minutes to review. It's so ridiculous. And they ended up calling the goal back. The Minnesota players had to clean all their equipment back up and get back lined up. And Boston scored on the very next shift to force game 5 back in Boston, which Minnesota ends up winning 3-0. Captain Kendall Coyne Schofield, the fastest woman on earth, ends up potting the empty netter to seal it. Congrats, Minnesota. Unbelievable stuff. And it was a packed barn, well over 13,000. It was really great. So we're gonna have a special guest on to discuss the PWHL's inaugural season soon. And obviously the NHL playoffs continue to rage along. Dallas Edmonton, as we record this, tied at 2. Same deal with Rangers Panthers. It's been just excellent hockey. It's what you would expect out of conference finals in any sport. A lot better than the basketball conference finals, let me tell you that right now. And it's just been a great competitive hockey season again. And the Rangers and Panthers and Stars and Oilers just beating the crap out of each other. Beautiful goals. It's been really great theater. Now, Clarkey, I want to address something as well here. You know, we talk about great theater, and we've talked a lot about baseball today. We've talked a lot of baseball, and congrats to our buddy Al buying the Listowel Legionnaires. Obviously, we're excited about a great season in Listowel, but to convert back to our Conway Furniture Couch Potatoes, and for all those wondering, you know, sometimes maybe you tune in late to the show, watching here on Whiteman, maybe you're on the podcast. For those who maybe don't remember where Conway Furniture is located, Phil Main, please tell them.
Conway Furniture, Highway 86, just east of Listowel.
That's right, the legend Phil Main, letting you know what's up. And when you go see our friends at Conway Furniture, by the way, all the prices in there, they include HST and delivery. And if there's one thing that we love on this show, especially Chris Clark, it's deliveries. So go see our friends at Conway
Free
Furniture.
delivery. That's right.
Go see our friends at Conway Furniture, and they'll hook you up. They got couches, they got kitchen sets in there, table. Dude, you want to deck out your house in a number of different categories, number of different levels here, new blinds, lamps. It's not just about furniture. They can cover a number of different bases in there for you. Hey, baseball.
And follow them on social media. They had this cabinet bed on social media on Wednesday, I think. Pretty neat looking thing.
They have contests on there. They have deals that they put out there. You can follow them on Instagram. They're a great follow. Hey, you want to stay up to date on the hot deals? That's what we're all about here at the show. Hot deals. Okay, Hudson's has them. Conway Furniture has them. That's what's up. Now the couch potato, the real one for me. Okay. Clarkey's earlier was.
I know where you're going. I think, and I think we need to institute a rule that you can't steal someone else's, because 3 weeks ago I had this man on and all I said was enough.
Yes, that is what you said. And it turns out, and that week, for the first time ever, a couple weeks ago, we both picked, and guys, we don't tell each other what our couch potatoes are. For the first time ever in the show's history, we're 3 years deep here, we both picked the same person as our couch potato. And he is my couch potato yet again, because it turns out, Clarkey, enough was enough.
Yes.
Because Angel Hernandez, producer Adam, yes, there he is, has announced his retirement, to the overjoyed reaction of the entire baseball world. One of the most controversial game officials, not even umpires in baseball, sporting officials of the last 30 to 40 years, has retired. And he was controversial off the field in his battles with the league. In a legal sense, he was extremely controversial on the field with his calls and complete negligence And there's a great channel I follow on YouTube. Every baseball fan should follow this guy. The channel is called Baseball Doesn't Exist. It's a spectacular channel where the guy on there does these great essays, and he just did one about Angel Hernandez. He literally put the video about Angel out the day before he announced his retirement, and a bunch of people on social media were joking around. Baseball Doesn't Exist made Angel Hernandez retire. So if that's true, thank you. But follow that channel. It's a great video on there about Angel and umpiring in general. It was really, really interesting. But that's my couch potato, my real one of the week, brought to you by Conway Furniture, Highway 86, east end of Listowel. Angel Hernandez, good riddance. And look, guys, I want to caveat something. We're not trying to make it personal on here. Like, I've heard Angel Hernandez is a good dude, and I bet he is. We're just talking about in a professional sense. He's terrible. Like he's probably a really nice guy. I've read. I see
all the umpires I have on social media sticking up for him though. Well, if you were traded the way you were, he's traded. You might not make good calls. What do you mean? What do you mean you're not going to make good calls because you were treated poorly by baseball? Anyway,
and that's not true though.
And he should have been fired.
Issue with that.
He should have been fired.
I agree. I take issue with that. He was treated, in his estimation, poorly because of the bad calls. And watch Baseball Doesn't Exist's video. It's the latest video on his channel. Okay. He specifically points out the break point moment with the league and Angel. It was during an athletics game where a home run was clearly hit out of the park. And he went to the, at the time, new instant replay system, didn't like the system because he felt it undermined the umpires, and on purpose called it not a home run, even though he had numerous angles showing it was clearly
people lose their jobs for that stuff.
Yes.
Anyway, we need to get Jim Cressman on the show.
Well, yeah, we should do that. Yes. But that is why on top of a number of other controversial moments leading up to this, but it was that moment in 2013 where baseball took the postseason away from him. They said, look, you're not umpiring in the postseason. You're not even on a crew because of how dumb you made everybody look. And then he got all upset and tried to sue baseball for racial discrimination, which ultimately was a terrible look for him. He should not have done that.
For sure.
He should have taken his lump, said sorry, and just moved on, and everything would have been fine. But
anyway,
Angel,
that's enough. That's enough. As I said before,
good riddance. We can't do it anymore, and we won't do it anymore. No, we will not do it anymore.
There's a few others we need to get rid of, but that's okay.
Laz Diaz is next on everybody's hit list.
Yes.
So, it's the robot umps, man. We gotta,
I agree.
We gotta figure this out, I think. All right. And the umpires will still have a place in the game.
They've delayed that now, so we'll see. They haven't got enough data from the minors, so we have to delay it. We can do it in tennis, we can do it in other sports, but we can't do it in baseball, apparently. So,
well, the owners are too cheap, right? So the data, data. I'm sick of. Can I just say, I love data, and especially when it comes to baseball, it's the most, in my opinion, data-driven sport other than auto racing, obviously. I'm kind of getting bogged down with it all. I turn games on now, and I just kind of am enjoying watching the flow of the game. I don't care to hear this guy's BABIP when he's facing right-handed pitchers that throw 95 miles per hour or less is 327. I'm just kind of
no, I know, but that's the trend. Here's an example. Okay, I have access to some American networks, and
me too.
TNT had the hockey game on the other day, and at the very same time, is it True TV? Maybe it's True TV, which is a subsidiary channel, I think, of TNT, had a stat cast of the game. So they're showing the game. They have different announcers, not doing play-by-play, just talking about the players, talking about stats, talking about what's going on. And they have the graphics on the screen. It's amazing to me that the Americans are trying different things. And Sportsnet's not, because they spent too much money and they don't have
that's not what we do up here. We're 15 years behind the 8 ball when it comes to innovation in media. Unfortunately,
that's what I'm saying. It's crazy. Yeah. It's
Unless
crazy.
you're talking about Listowel's favorite son, Jared Kiso, with stuff like Shoresy and stuff. That's really the most, honestly, I'm not even kidding. Shoresy and the Letterkenny stuff is the most innovative media property to come out of this
that's not a
country
game.
in
That's
10
not-
years.
that's
no,
not a
I know.
game.
It's not
But
sports,
no,
but I'm
I
just
hear you.
talking,
I get
I'm
it.
talking media in general. It's the most innovative thing
Sure.
that's come out of this country in ages. It
Yeah.
really, really is.
It's because
Anyway.
Bell and Rogers are ruining it for everything. Anyway, let's move on. We have golf picks
Lot
to
to
make.
be said. There's
Canadian
golf picks.
Open.
Producer Adam, RBC Canadian Open. Doigie is busy at Pebble Beach. He
He's
could
at
not
Pebble
participate
Beach.
in the picks.
No.
Okay, he's playing
too
in a very
busy.
important tournament. So Clarkey and I have made our picks. Producer Adam, you may reveal them now. These are our teams. We both took one Canadian. I'm rolling with Rory. Rory loves playing up here.
Yep.
Sahith Thagala, tough first day. Corey
did
Connors,
he have a
gotta go
tough?
with-
Did
He had a tough first day.
Oh, I thought he did okay.
Listowel's own Corey. He was okay at the end. He had a rough middle of his.
I haven't even looked.
Shane
I've been
Lowry.
busy at work all day.
I love Shane Lowry and Clarkey rolling with Tommy Fleetwood, the runner-up last year, of course, to Nick Taylor's historic 72-foot putt. Sammy Burns, Cam Young, and his Canadian Adam Svensson. So there you go. Good luck, Clarkey.
I didn't take all the Canadians like I said. I was
Yeah,
going
you
to.
were.
I did it.
Neither of us took Nick Taylor.
Called an
Neither of us
audible.
took Nick
No, I
Taylor.
don't know if it's his week.
All right.
It's hard.
Ladies
It's
and
hard.
gentlemen-
First of all, it's hard to win, and to expect the Canadian to go back to back.
Yeah, it took years and years for it to happen, right?
Yeah,
And it was a beautiful
exactly.
moment. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking of beautiful moments, you can experience that every week by watching this show Friday nights at 8, Sunday nights at 9 with our friends on Whiteman TV. That's channel 6 for Whiteman subscribers. We debut on our YouTube channel Friday nights at 9. Follow us on social media at Instigating Pod and find the podcast on all your favorite podcast apps. For our friends Rob Longley and Alan McArthur, that's Clarkey. I'm Drury. We'll be back next week with more Instigating.